Sup, pimps? Men feel everything, but express nothing, and it's fucking killing us. Last year in England and Wales, nearly three quarters of the people who took their own lives were men. The male suicide rate hit 17.4 per 100,000. It's the highest it's been in over 20 years. And it's not because men don't hurt, it's because no one ever taught us what the fuck to do with the hurt. As I said before, we're raised on man up, crack on, you'll be fine. Like emotions are some embarrassing bug in the fucking system. And now we're sat here paying the price. So today's episode, I'm going to be talking about the emotions, not the therapy voice, not the fake positivity, not the believing you king. No, I'm going to talk about the real shit, the messy shit, the stuff that we actually fucking struggle with. Most lads, most guys, most fellas, most dudes, we weren't raised to feel. We were raised to endure. You cry, someone tells you to stop. If you're upset, that'll be all right, you'll get over it. You hurt, man the fuck up. And the wild part is research actually backs it up. Like studies show men who cling hardest to the old school don't talk, deal with it alone masculinity are the least likely to seek help and the most likely to implode internally. And men with depression, they're significantly less likely than women to talk about it. And it's not because they don't want to, it's just again, we've been trained since childhood not to. So you grow up, you've got all these emotions, but you've got absolutely fuck all tools to handle them. It's like being handed a bomb with no fucking instructions. People assume emotional issues come from not having a dad, and that can play a part, but it's nowhere near the whole story. Most of my shit started earlier, in places that nobody really talks about. Like, I grew up feeling like I didn't really fit in anywhere, not like in a dramatic, poetic way, just, that uncomfortable, everyone else seems to understand it, and I'm just here kind of figuring all this shit out. I always felt different as a kid. I always felt a bit misunderstood, off. Um, and no one ever really fully understood where I was going or what I was doing. And to be fair, that's still true to this day. Sometimes, as a kid, we weren't well off. Hovered around the poverty line, and kids pick up on that shit instantly, as we all probably know. They don't give a shit about context; they care about status. So, quite a lot of the times, I got bullied for being poor, even though my mum fucking moved mountains for us. And this woman, honestly, she didn't eat some nights so that we could. She made sure I had food every single fucking day. And she made it a mission that I never went without. Any school trip that she could scrape the money together for, she fucking did. Every birthday, she made something happen. My friends had bikes, I got a bike. Even if it meant sacrificing something for herself, she fucking grafted. She struggled quietly. She never let it touch me, not in the way that it could have. So when kids start looking at you like a latchkey kid or said I was poor or acted like I was some neglected little fucking goblin raising myself, none of them saw the reality. None of them saw the effort. Not a single one of them saw a mother doing the absolute fucking best with what little she had. But kids don't fact check. They just attack and all that shit. It chips away at you. My confidence wasn't just low, it didn't exist. When you hear something long enough, you start to believe it. Or people tell you that you're a problem on top of it. It cements something inside you that's hard to shake. Imagine being 10 to 12 years old, being told these things and going into a really difficult time in puberty and adulthood as onwards. You believe these things. These cemented core values in you because, well, adults and other people wouldn't hurt me. You're naive to the world. And school was rough too. Teachers didn't really have a clue what to do with me. I wasn't violent. I wasn't stupid. I was just too much. I was too restless, too distracted, too loud, too energetic, too fucking everything, honestly. There were times where I'd hear the word turn around and all of a sudden I'd start singing turn around. And like that just sticks with you. And the lovely echolalia that every 16, 15, 14, 13-year-old kid wants to be doing in his math lesson. But no one ever really stopped and said, like, maybe there's something going on with this kid's brain. It was always he's disruptive, he's not concentrating, he's lying, he's not trying, he's lazy. And the whole time I had ADHD. I was undiagnosed, I was misunderstood, untreated. So I grew up believing there was something fundamentally wrong with me when really I just needed support. And after all that, the bullying, the labels, the poverty shame, the confusion, it fucking builds up. And you don't magically leave it when you turn 18. It follows you into adulthood, it follows you into relationships, into communication, how you deal with stress, even on your day to day job. And it got dark. I tried to take my life at 19. That was my first ever attempt. Nobody knew, not a single person. Most people think that I've tried twice, when in reality, it's much more. I haven't told anyone that until now, speaking into this microphone and hitting your eardrums. But that's exactly the point, right? Men don't talk. We don't want to speak. We don't want to burden anyone. We don't want to admit that we're struggling, even though we're at a fucking breaking point. I think back sometimes and realize that I could have been one of those 17 out of the hundred thousands. I could have been a fucking statistic on a spreadsheet passed around for notes. And the scariest part, nobody would have seen it coming, because that's what we as men do. We hide it until the hiding becomes too fucking heavy. So when I talk about emotional intelligence or men opening up or understanding your shit instead of burying it, it's not because I've mastered it. It's because I've survived not having any of it. And survival is fucking draining, bros. Like, it eats you alive. And so here I am trying to give other people what I needed when I was younger. People call it a male loneliness epidemic, like it's something happening to just men. But honestly, a lot of the stuff that we do to ourselves is a result of ourselves. And this section might kind of come across as like I'm attacking you, but stay with me, I promise. This isn't something that is attacking your ego or some fuck men, feminist, over the top kind of thing. It is exactly what you as a man need to hear. We don't talk, we don't say what's wrong. We don't build emotional relationships with our friends until late 30s, maybe late 20s if you're lucky. We rely on our partners a lot to hold our emotions because we don't trust anyone with them. So when something ends or someone sets a boundary, our entire emotional system falls apart. But that's not loneliness. That's putting your entire emotional well-being in one place. And this is quite common across a lot of men, is rejection. We handle that like dog shit. A woman says, "Nah, I'm not interested." And a lot of you guys act like it's a personal attack instead of a boundary. And the issue is when you treat women or partners in general as your only source of comfort, support, or closeness, rejection becomes fucking catastrophic. But that's not fair on you. That's not fair on them either. Ultimately, as a man, we have to build emotional infrastructure outside of romance, friendships, self worth, actual emotional skills that you can build on. Because otherwise, we're just going to turn into our fathers. We're going to turn into our grandfathers and great grandfathers. And we're just going to keep repeating the same fucking cycle: silence, dependency, and ultimately collapse. Like I say rejection, rejection used to destroy me, like properly, completely, and utterly flatten me. And it wasn't the no. Like it wasn't really the no. It was all, well, what the fuck is wrong with me? Like I'm this great guy. Like this is what I can give you. I think, but it was like I was trying to prove to them the person who I was. And ultimately, when I look back at it, who was I trying to fucking prove? Was I trying to prove to myself that I'm a good man? Like, was I trying to go in depth and really fully explore what I could give in a relationship? And I did the same thing that most of us would probably do in their 20s. We never fully settled down. We never fully understand the emotional ties that relationships can have. We put all our eggs in one basket and hold people up on a pedestal, and then act surprised when the pedestal collapses and that person doesn't even recognize you on a step, let alone a pedestal. And it's about tying your entire self-worth to someone who wants you. Like, men as a whole, and I'm not saying this as, again, an attack. but it is something that men these days struggle with. And I think when you start to understand that rejection isn't humiliation, it's direction, everything shifts. Once you take the no or I'm not interested, that's good. That's a good thing. That wasn't the right fit for you. You know, that doesn't mean that you're unlovable. It's a case of you, as cliche as it sounds, were not the matching puzzle piece that interlocked with that person. And it's all about admitting and holding that accountability. And if you look at it that way as well, I think my voice just cracked, and I'm 30 years old. My voice just cracked, which is fantastic. I hope I get bullied for that. But to go back is if you're not the right fit for someone, why would you force something? Why would you push with somebody who said no? And if somebody says no to you, it doesn't mean that it's the end of the fucking world. You know, there are an intense amount of people in this world. There are an intense amount of people in this world out of those that will probably think you're a good guy. That one person who doesn't think so doesn't mean anything, as awful as that sounds. So take the no, breathe, walk away with some dignity. You know, somebody will want you without hesitation and let that one be the person that you give your energy to. And on the section of that as well is we need deeper friendships. We as men fucking struggle with friendships. And don't get me wrong, we're all adults. We all have shit going on. You know, we have jobs, we have families, we have situations that might be going on that others aren't aware of. You know, you might be getting really depressed by playing League of Legends. You might have discovered something enjoyable in your social circle. And that's what it should be. It shouldn't just be banter and memes. It should be proper connection. You know, if somebody tells you, I'm struggling, mate, you need to know that these friendships you've cultivated aren't just going to be the person freaking them out. Like you've just told them you've got 6 months to live. You know, studies show that even having one close friend you can talk to reduces the risk of depression and suicide massively. That's one person. That's all it takes. And I want you to close your eyes now. If you're driving, don't close your eyes. But I want you to picture the person in your life right now. Who is that one person? That's all it takes. And then I want you to ask the question, they're there for you. Are you there for them? Because a lot of people as well, and this isn't just like men exclusively, this is kind of like the human race as a whole. We're a race of takers. You know, a lot of take, 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 take. I deserve this. This is thing. This is how people should be for me. But nobody ever looks at what they give. Some people kind of overlook what they give. Don't get me wrong. Some people kind of look at things and they think I give too much, or I'm giving this and this person isn't receiving this. And there's a lot of in-depth things that can kind of go along with that. However, think about that one person and ask that question. And if you've just turned around and you've said, no, no, I'm not, I want you to go out and reach out to that person. And I want you to be honest with yourself. And I want you to see what you can do for them. You know, I'm a huge believer that we as human beings are placed on this world to help others. We're here for a short time. You know, most of us don't get a long time. Most of us kind of live to the natural 70, 80-year old range. Some of us might be lucky and 90 to 100. But when you're lying on your deathbed, do you want to be surrounded by people who loved you and memories? Or do you want to be surrounded by what ifs and the ghosts of people that could have been? And ultimately, it's about cultivating those friendships, not just as a man, but as a person too. And and this is real because I 100% am the same. I don't always go out of my way to help others. If somebody's helped me, you know, I don't assume that I have to help them at the same time. You know, life isn't transactional in that way, but at the same time, you need deeper friendships. As I say, one person that's all it takes. So there's a couple of things that I learned growing up that I kind of picked up on, and these are the things that I do on a daily basis. especially in kind of my own anxious state. Whenever you're kind of going through something, you should try and name the emotion that you're going through. As silly as it sounds, right? So this is another thing as well. You'd be surprised what saying things to yourself can create. So I have an ex partner whose father was a hypnotherapist, absolutely fantastic man, and he told me I told him why am I not happy, and he said, "Here's a silly thing. Every time you wake up in the morning, look in a mirror, smile, and just fucking insult yourself, and you'll feel two things. You'll feel incredibly silly, which is funny at that time. Like, why am I talking to a mirror? Why am I saying that I'm a bold bitch? Like, why am I saying these things? But that moment of silliness makes you feel good because it invokes that kind of emotion inside you that makes you happy. And the second thing is, if it makes you smile, everybody knows smiling makes you feel good. You're elated for that brief moment in time that you're smiling. Like I've smiled a couple of times doing this already, and I already feel better. But also the same is going back to what I said is name the emotion. Always name the emotion. If you're angry, oh, I'm angry. If you're sad, oh, God, I'm really sad right now. It releases that pressure. It's like a valve is in your head. So if you imagine your brain is like a little valve, um, or a little cog for the British guys. I've been spending way too much time with Americans. Anyway, right? So you place your hand on this valve, right? And this is your brain. All that pressure that's building up in the pipe that is your brain of just emotion flooding up at that little floodgate. All that anger is just getting placed into it, right? It's building up and it's building up and it's building up. And those who know how pipes work, I would hope that you all know what pipes work. Eventually, it's gonna crack. It's gonna burst. It's gonna explode. And all that pressure, all that water that was hitting the pipe, all that emotion is just gone. It's everywhere. It's all over. It's bouncing all over the fucking place. You're drowning. Whereas if you take the moment to turn that valve, you're letting the water through, you're letting it out, that emotion's released from your body, so to speak. It might sound silly. You might listen to this and think, the fuck is he talking about? But I promise you, it really works. Like I can be really angry. I'm like, fuck, I'm an angry person right now. I'm so angry. But I've acknowledged it. I've acknowledged my emotion. I've put it out into the world there. And that's good. These negative emotions as well that men struggle with, anxiety, anger, sadness. These are all huge things that we struggle to put out there because we're scared of what's going to be received. It's like hitting a tennis ball at Roger Federer and it coming back and swatting you in the forehead. You don't want to ever serve a thing to him again. But you serve to him and he might swing back and you might get a hit again this time. And then, yeah, yeah. You should move your body as well, especially if you're kind of going through some stuff. Walk, lift, stretch. As silly as it sounds, I feel like men store emotion physically. We're so used to compressing it inside that ultimately we look like fucking Popeye after we've had some spinach. But these are the things, if you go out and to be fair, I'll tell you the story. The first time I was ever like majorly cheated on in a huge relationship. I won't go into the full details this time because I don't want it to be too long. But the first time I found out, I was so fucking angry that all I wanted to do was assault the person who cheated with my girlfriend at the time. And many of you guys will think the same thing. You just want to go in there and beat the absolute shit out of this dude. Because how dare you step on my relationship? How dare you belittle me as a person? And what I did was I didn't go and beat the shit out of him. I went to the gym. I went to the gym at 10 o'clock at night and I loaded up the weights. And this isn't me trying to tell you to go to the fucking gym every time you're upset and stuff like that, because that's not what it is. The podcast is not here to tell you that going to the gym fixes everything, even though science does prove that lifting weights makes you feel fucking so good. But I went to the gym. I loaded plates up. I loaded 150 kilo on both sides, and then take away 130 on both sides. But I loaded it up, and I lifted consistently for 20 minutes. I did my sets in between. I drank some water, and all while going through it, I'm powering through the anger, I'm powering through the emotion, the frustration. And by the time I was done, I was like, wow, thank God I didn't go and beat the shit out of him. That would have been a huge issue. And, like, as I started thinking about it, I thought, well, my anger isn't at him. My anger is at the situation. The situation's happened. It's up to me as a person to manage my emotions surrounding it. And that's all that the main thing is to do is you need to learn to manage the emotions. So that anger, if I'd have gone and assaulted this person, I could have ended up in prison. I could have had a criminal record. I could have had all these things. And that one change that I said, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to release my anger out on a person. I'm going to go release my anger out on weights in the gym. I'm able to talk to you now without a criminal record. I'm able to talk to you now with the knowledge I haven't assaulted a person. And as silly as that might sound, and as niche as that is, I think a lot of kind of us guys need to be okay with touching the emotion rather than acting on it instantly. The other one as well is like talk to somebody. And I don't mean a group chat. I don't mean chat GPT. I don't mean the girls on Chatterbait and channel 7010 when I was a kid. God, that makes me sound old. Fuck. But talk to somebody. It doesn't matter who it is. My person is my mum. That might make me seen as a mother's boy, but I don't care. Quite frankly, I couldn't give a fuck. That woman raised me as a single mother from the age of 17. I'm gonna talk to her about my shit, man. I grew up with her. She grew up with me. I have other people that I can go to. I've got my partner. My partner is the most wonderful and understanding human being. I'm there for her in the same way that she's there for me, and I talk to her. I don't talk to a group chat. I don't talk to multiple friends at the same time. I talk to that one person. It goes back to that one person, that all it takes. And you might find yourself getting a biased view sometimes. Sometimes you need a little bit of bias, though. You know, these things that happened to me as a kid, my mum would have backed me up 110%, even if I was in the wrong. Although sometimes she probably would have actually told me off. There were many times she told me off and I was being a dickhead, but it's okay. The other thing is let yourself cry. Really let yourself cry. I don't care how it makes you feel. It's okay to cry. Like it's completely okay to cry. I know people might sit there and think it's a sign of weakness because you finally, you've reached your breaking point. You haven't reached your breaking point. Crying isn't even step one on the breaking point. The breaking point is standing on the rail of a bridge looking down at the crisp water and going, I'm ready. Crying, it releases the emotion again. It unticks that valve. It releases it and you feel good. It's biology. It's not weakness. You're detoxing yourself from the emotion. It's okay to cry. And I'm not just talking at funerals. You can be overwhelmed. You can be overstimulated in a day. You can be upset that you didn't get the promotion you were working towards. You can be upset that the relationship is broken down and unfortunately you're not wanting to continue it. You can be upset that your cat unfortunately has to go to the vets. No, not you, don't worry. My cat always peak. But you can be upset at these things and you're okay. It's okay to let yourself cry and it's okay to feel the way that you want to feel. And finally, my last tip, and this isn't like the be all and end all. There are many more things in the future that we're going to go into the depth of it, but I hope this helps in some way. Ask yourself really what you need. Sometimes in the moment you're really upset or really angry, right? And as any of you guys will know, how many times have you been with a partner? They're really pissed off at you for something, or they're really just in a cranky mood. You give them a little bit of a McDonald's, and they're the happiest person ever. Okay, and it sounds cliche, and it sounds a little bit like I'm taking a dig, but it's true. It's the scientific, it's the psychological thing behind it. If you're hungry, you get annoyed. If you're dehydrated, you feel crap. If you haven't slept well, you're gonna feel awful. Ask yourself what you need in that moment. Sometimes it's water, sometimes it's sleep, sometimes it's a can of Coke, sometimes it's a wank. Just being real with you. Sometimes it's a wank. All right? Ask yourself what you need in that moment because sometimes these things build up and you're thinking, fuck, what's wrong with me? And you might just need something so small and not a personality overhaul. There are many times where It can happen. Just ask yourself. And trust me, man, like I say this all the time. Being comfortable doesn't mean loving every part of yourself. I hate some things about myself, like physically, as an example. You know, my partner's gonna kick my ass when she listens to this, but I think I'm a bit of a fat dude. You know, I think I'm a bit on the chunkier side. I wouldn't mind losing some weight in my face or getting rid of this little dad bod that I've got. I'm not even a fucking dad. That's the craziest thing. I have a dad bod. I'm not even dad. How wild. But I love myself at the same time. And I'm not saying that I'm going to go out there and be like, fat is beautiful. I love this. Because there are many things that I agree. But if you can love yourself, it means not lying to yourself. It means admitting your feelings without seeing them as flaws. You know, if you're quick to get angry at something, that's okay. It's okay to get angry at something. What you need to look at is how you manage your emotions when they arise. You know, and I said it before, but it's so true. The strongest men I've ever met are the ones who stop pretending. They're the ones who took the mask and the societal expectations off, relaxed their shoulders, took a deep breath, and just went, and listen, if you've listened this far, thank you. It really means that you're trying, you're showing up for yourself. As always, I'm not here to preach. I'm not a fucking life coach. I'm not your fucking guru. I'm just a guy who's felt a lot. I've learned a bit. And if something I said hit you wrong, good. Either way, I'm glad you're here. This is still standing. I'm still standing. And if you're here, maybe you are too, man. I'll see you next time. I love you.